is Cartman's dad? The South Park Season 1 finale is the first episode of a two-part Whodunnit set in the town of South Park, and I am going to try and solve it. My goal is to solve the mystery of who Cartman's father is before the big reveal. It's a 2-episode story, and each episode's like 20 minutes, so this shouldn't take long. Now, I've never really watched South Park. I think I caught, a part of the one that went viral this year after the whole Paramount stuff was happening. So I'm really hoping that this mystery doesn't rely on knowing a bunch of lore from the show, but it is from just like season 1, so I think I should be good. So here is how it is going to work. Throughout the 2 episodes, I will be hitting pause throughout, and I will jump in here and I will break down the different suspects, theories, and clues that I have for who I think Cartman's father is. And I will lock in a guess for who I think is his father. That way, when we get to the end of the mystery and we find out who it is, we can look back and we can see exactly how close or far off I was from getting it correct. So with all of that out of the way, let's jump in to episode 1.
I want to know where I came from.
Well, you see, Eric, sometimes when a man and a woman are attracted to each other, the man puts his...
South Park, Wednesday night at 10.
All right, everybody, this is South Park, which means that a lot of the stuff is pretty wild. So this is a disclaimer for anything that could be offensive, So I just hit pause at the 10-minute and 34-second mark. I'm going to be honest with you guys. I am not sure how good this mystery is going to be. We are like 11 minutes into the first episode, and we do have a few suspects of who Cartman's dad could be. So basically what's going on so far is Cartman is feeling pretty down because he does not know who his father is. So he asks his mom, "Who is my dad?" And what she tells him is that she met his father at the 12th annual Drunken Barn Dance. And we actually get like a scene, a flashback, where we get to see the people who were in attendance at this dance. And she essentially tells Cartman that the person she saw was Chief Running Water. I apologize. I know that it's an offensive name, but that's the name of the character. All hate comments are to be directed to Paramount, not me. But yeah, she says that he is the hottest guy that she has ever seen. So Cartman is like, awesome. That means I'm part Native American. So he goes and he visits who he thinks his father is. But he tells Cartman that he is not his father because he did not sleep with his mom, because his mom ditched him to go and make out with Chef. Now, Chef, I believe, is the school chef at the school where Cartman and the main characters go to school. And that is where we hit pause. Now, I think I can see where this is going. I'm pretty sure Cartman is going to go visit him, and then he's going to be like, nope, it's not me, it's this other person. And we're just going to keep following that format across the 2 episodes, probably. So what I think that means is immediately, these 2 characters are big red herrings, right? They are not going to actually be his dad. His dad is going to be someone else, but we know that his father had to have been in attendance at the Drunken Barn Dance. So I went back through that scene and I took, note of some of the characters that are in that scene. For example, this guy, Officer Bar Brady, he is actually the first character that we meet in this flashback scene where he eats one of Miss Cartman's cookies, like a literal cookie. It's not an innuendo, We also get a bit of a fake out moment where Miss Cartman is looking into the crowd of people and says, that is the hottest man I've ever seen. Before they step out of the way and reveal Running Water, it's actually this guy, Jimbo. And what's very interesting about Jimbo is that he's pretty heavily involved in this scene without actually being involved at all. Like every time that she is talking about Cartman's dad, the camera is lingering on Jimbo a lot longer than any of the other people in this scene. That makes me think that he is our prime suspect for who Cartman's dad could be. Because in any mystery, even like, you know, a kind of stupid comedy mystery like who this guy's dad is, you have to introduce the person who did it as early as possible. That way, when we get to the reveal, the audience is like, oh man, it was him. He was there the whole time. I didn't even notice him. Instead of it being like, wait, who is this guy? Someone that we only met in the last 5 minutes, right? It wouldn't be a very satisfying reveal. Now, I do want to bring up this fiddle player from the flashback scene, who just looks a lot like Cartman. And so I don't think he has a name. I don't even know if he was supposed to be noticed, but he looks very similar, and for that reason, he's also one of my main suspects. Now, I imagine when we hit play and we watch the rest of episode 1, we're going to get at least one more major suspect before the episode ends on a cliffhanger, right? Because it's a 2-part mystery. I imagine part 1 will end on a big cliffhanger. We're going to be like, oh my God, who could it be? And then in part 2, we will get the big reveal. And I'm just hoping that by the end of this episode, we have a lot more to work with than just the little bit that we have here. But I am going to lock in my prediction for this section, and that is Jimbo. The only reason that I'm locking in Jimbo for who I think Cartman's dad is for this section is the camera work in the scene. They linger on Jimbo a lot. And, you know, to only be 11 minutes into this mystery, I think that's a good enough reason to lock him in as a prime suspect. Let's go watch the rest of episode 1.
The infidelity.
Come on, Chef. Haven't you ever heard of a Manage 03?
All right, so I just watched the second half of episode 1 of this 2-part mystery. The second half of this episode definitely gave us a lot more to work with, and I'm feeling like I'm on the right track here, fellas. So basically, what happens is Cartman goes and talks to Chef about Chef being his real father. But Chef is like, nope, couldn't be me. All I did was tongue kiss your mom, dude. But he does tell Cartman that while he was just tongue kissing his mom, Garrison, this guy right here, did sleep with his mom that night. Now, I believe that Garrison is the teacher at the school. So Cartman goes and confronts Garrison at the bar. He has a puppet, by the way, which immediately made me think, what if the puppet is Cartman's dad? Anyway, Cartman finds Garrison at the bar. He walks in. He's like, you're my dad. You slept with my mom. And then Jimbo, who is in the bar, he's in this scene once again. Jimbo's like, there's no way he slept with your mom because he's gay. And Garrison's like, I am not gay. And Cartman's like, oh, so you did sleep with my mom? And then Garrison's like, yeah, I did. And then Garrison is like, but dude, everyone slept with your mom. In fact, raise a hands if you haven't slept with Cartman's mom. No one raises their hands because everybody slept with Cartman's mom. And then Garrison's like, even the 1989 Denver Broncos slept with your mom. So, you know, and this is insane stuff happening. Jimbo, who is at the bar, as we have said, tries to calm Cartman down, try to kind of give him some advice. He's like, hey, man, I didn't know my dad either, which felt weird that this was included in this scene unless Jimbo is the father. I really think we're onto something with that. I mean, this guy, Jimbo, who I've never heard of, like, obviously I've heard of South Park characters through the cultural zeitgeist, right? Like I know hey, you killed Kenny. So when that happened in this episode, I was like, oh, that's cool. I've heard of that. I know how Cartman talks. I've heard that before, but I've never heard of Jimbo. So I don't know if he's like a mainstay in the show, but the fact that he's getting this much screen time leads me to believe that he is an important character to this mystery. And I think that he could be the father. Now, here's where things get complicated. At the bar, this guy, Mephisto, tells Cartman that he can do a DNA test and tell him who his real father is for $3,000. And so, like, you know, obviously there's some other stuff going on. There's America's Stupidest Home Videos, Bob Saget jokes. These guys end up making $3,000. They give it to Cartman. Cartman is able to do the DNA test. The episode ends with this guy, Mephisto, reading off a list of the possible suspects for who Cartman's father is. And they are all gathered in the room, which means one of the people that I'm about to list to you is Cartman's father. Officer Bar Brady, Jimbo, Chef, Garrison, Ned, Running Water, Kyle's dad. Now, if you don't know, Kyle is, I think, this one. One of these two. Mephisto, who's the guy doing the DNA test. Mephisto's friend, Kevin, who he be getting freaky. And the 1989 Denver Broncos. And then, just like how we suspected, because it's a two-part thing, that's where the episode ends. It's a big cliffhanger. We have to wait all the way until the next season of South Park to find out who is Cartman's dad. Now, luckily for us, this came out before I was even born, which means that we can just go ahead and skip to the season 2 premiere and we can find out who Cartman's dad is. But before we do that, I need to lock in my prediction for this section of who I think Cartman's dad is. Last time, for the first half of episode 1, we locked in Jimbo, and I honestly still feel really good about that pick. He is getting a ton of screen time, and until the very end where Mephisto read out like a list of all of the potential fathers, Jimbo was never specifically pointed out as an option to be his father. But now I do have some other theories. After all, this is a comedy show, and so they're probably going to go with the funniest option. Now, there's some really funny options here, right? Like the 1989 Denver Broncos. If every single one of them was the father, that is funny. But I actually think it would be funnier and better for the story, like going forward, you know, the show, if it's Kyle's dad. Because then the show, like the writers, have this plot line now where Cartman and Kyle are like half siblings. And that is something that you could build off of and do plenty of stuff with. Now, there's also one more thing that cannot be overlooked, and that's the fact that this Mephisto guy looks exactly like Cartman, but as an old man. Now, if you ask me, that makes him a pretty good candidate to be the father, especially now that he's like a main part of this mystery because he's the one doing the DNA test. He's the one reading out all the suspects. He includes himself on the list, you know? So I think that makes him a big option. Officer Bar Brady. We already said this. He was the first one that we see in that flashback scene when we first start figuring out who the father could be. So, but throughout all these options, there's some that I do not think are going to be the father, like our two main red herrings that happened throughout the episode. I think it's unlikely for the Denver Broncos from 1989 to be the father. So, you know, if we eliminate those, I still think Jimbo is the best option. I kind of wanted to go with Mephisto because he looks exactly like Cartman, but as an old guy. But dude, the amount of times that Jimbo shows up in this 22-minute episode when it doesn't seem like he's actually that important of a character to the episode really makes me think that it's going to be him. So I'm going to be locking in Jimbo once again. Now, I am a bit worried that the big reveal is going to be just like this crazy out of nowhere reveal that kind of sweeps the rug out from under us. You know, something like Jesus shows up. That feels like a very South Park thing to do. Jesus arrives and is like, I am Cartman's father. And now Cartman is like a religious figure. But, you know, I have no way of predicting if it's something crazy like that. So I'm just going to go with the facts. I'm going to go with what I know, and that's Jimbo. All right, let's go watch the season 2 premiere and find out if we can learn some more information.
A town shocking secret.
Who here has never had sex with Mrs. Cartman?
And the uneasy question that haunts one young boy.
So who put his hoo-hoo dilly in your cha-cha?
This April 1st, find out the answer to television's biggest mystery on a very special South Park. Coming up next, only at Comedy Central.
Okay, I just tried to watch the season 2 premiere because I thought that was going to be the reveal episode. It turns out it was all a big prank. Not the mystery, the episode. Essentially, you know, they made people wait like a month for the season 2 premiere, and then it was like a different episode. It wasn't actually the second part to the mystery. So I'm going to go watch season 2, episode 2, which is actually the second part to the mystery episode, and then I'll be back. All right, let's go do that now.
Who the do you think you guys are with Comedy Central and that South Park? I mean, people have been waiting 4 weeks to see who the Cartman's father is, and all you guys can show is Terrence and f***ing Philip? F*** you guys. You guys f***ing suck. F*** you.
All right, we have watched the first half of this second episode in the mystery. I hit pause right around the 10-minute mark. This episode starts right where the last one left off. But before Mephisto can read the name of who Cartman's father is, Mephisto is shot. The lights go out, so we don't know who shot Mephisto, but there is a broken window which leads everyone to believe, including myself, that whoever shot Mephisto was not in the room. It was someone outside. That makes things very interesting. It makes things very complicated for matters that we will get into momentarily. But first, they have to rush him to the hospital, and they've got him on life support. The stakes are thus: if he dies, we never find out who Cartman's father is, and then I will have made 75% of a video for no reason. Now that is where we hit pause. We know that he is on life support, but we do not know if he makes it or not. Now, as for what this video is about, which is trying to solve who Cartman's father is, we do not get a lot of information in the first half of this episode. But what we do get is the kind of new mystery of who shot Mephisto. Because maybe that is the biggest hint of who Cartman's dad is, right? Because who would want to kill the guy about to expose who Cartman's dad is if it's not Cartman's dad? But we know for certain that the father is one of the people in the room when the shooting happens. And since the shooting happened from outside in through the window, that means it couldn't be any of the people who are potentially Cartman's father. My first guess is maybe it's Cartman's mom, right? Because maybe she doesn't want her son to find out who his real father is. But she is in the room as well. And there is honestly zero information that leads us towards the direction of anyone being the shooter. So I'm at a real loss here. What's also making me nervous is Jimbo has not shown up in this episode really so far, which is, it is concerning because if he's actually the father, I feel like maybe he would be showing up in the, the second part of the 2-part mystery. He was heavily featured in part 1, but it's part 2 and we're halfway through the episode and we've barely seen anything of him. So now I'm like, okay, let's reset and let's just think about it's probably going to be a big joke, right? And if it's going to be a big joke, then there has to be some sort of setup. So that way, when the joke happens, the punchline hits. Every punchline needs a setup. So what has been set up in what we've seen so far that would lead to a good joke reveal? And I'm pulling all of my pop culture references, right? Immediately, I'm like, okay, Chase, other famous mysteries that involve who is a father. The Scarlet Letter. First thing that comes to mind. Who is the big reveal in that one? Spoiler alert, if you're reading the Scarlet Letter in 7th grade right now, the reveal of who the father is the local priest. So then I'm like, okay, well, what if the big reveal for this is that Cartman's dad is the local priest? The issue is, I don't really know anything about South Park. I don't even know if they have a local priest. I don't even know if there's a priest character in this show. There's also the factor that if there is a priest character in the show, he has not been introduced whatsoever in this mystery episodes. But I do think it would be a funny reveal, right? In that South Park kind of out there sense of humor where Cartman's father is the local priest who also shot and killed a guy to try to keep his secret quiet. So there's that idea. But then I started thinking, oh, wait, this came out in 1998, right? What was big happening in the news in 1998? Bill Clinton and Monica Lewinsky. And the reason I thought about that is because there's this whole B plot going on in this episode where Cartman's mom is visiting all of these different government officials. She's kind of making her way up the list of government officials because she's trying to make it to where she can kill her son because she is not fit to be a mother. So, government officials, this is in the prime Bill Clinton, Monica Lewinsky era. I'm like, okay, what if the big joke is that Bill Clinton is the father of Cartman? And now he's trying to cover it up because he's got enough stuff going on. Now, I have no evidence behind this. I'm just trying to like throw out guesses because at this point, I'm pretty sure that the big reveal is going to be something silly that doesn't, doesn't account for the suspects and the clues that we've gotten so far. Because they don't have to follow those rules. This is not a mystery show. It's a comedy show. It's a very absurd comedy show. They can do whatever they want. So now I kind of have this dilemma, right? Because if I want to get this right, which if you're a fan of the channel, it does not happen often. I would like to get some more W's in the column. If I'm going to get this right, this is my last chance to lock in the correct guess. So far, I have only locked in Jimbo. My brain is telling me, Chase, that's the most logical answer. Because of everything that happened in the first episode, Jimbo is a good locked-in pick. My heart telling me I need to go wild, go crazy, do something not traditional. My first guess is like maybe Mephisto's the father, and he's about to die, right? And he reveals, I'm your father, and then he dies. So that way, we get the big reveal. It's a character that we know, and Cartman still doesn't get a dad because he just died. So that's funny. Funny in the grand scheme of things. So I do think that's a good idea too, but I just made that up. I have no reason to believe that could be true. I just came up with that. I do have hard reasoning for why it could be Jimbo, so I think I'm just going to lock in Jimbo once again. There's still 10, 11 minutes left of this episode. Jimbo could show back up and be a major element for the rest of this episode. All right, let's go watch the rest of this episode and find out who is Cartman's dad.
On the next South Park, a young boy's search is finally over.
Gentlemen, the father is... It's a power outage!
Oh my God, look!
Don't miss this pivotal South Park next Wednesday at 10, only at Comedy Central.
Well, I just watched the rest of the episode. We get the big reveal. Two things. One, I was wrong. It was not Jimbo. Jimbo is not the father. Two, I was right that it was a complete joke reveal that was just out there. So essentially what happens is Miss Cartman is Cartman's dad. Basically, Miss Cartman has both sets of reproductive organs and therefore got someone else pregnant. So the whole episode ends with us finding out who Cartman's father is, his mom, but there's a new mystery, which is, well, then who is Cartman's mom then? And that's how it ends, with another mystery. Who is Cartman's mom? This show is insane, dude. Well, all right, guys, I don't even know if they ever reveal who his mom turns out to be. Let me know in the comments, spoiler free, just let me know if that ever comes up again in South Park. So did I solve who is Cartman's dad? No, not even remotely close. And if you claim that you did, you're a liar, dude. I do want to bring up something that I did get right, though, which is Bill Clinton does show up. So I'm going to count that as a 30% win. Oh, also, Mephisto's brother is the one who shot him. He lives, by the way. Has nothing to do with anything. Apparently, his brother just tries to kill him every month. All right. Thanks for watching. Links down below. Cool.